The Supreme Court is poised to issue a major ruling in the coming days on birthright citizenship, which could cause the hundreds of thousands of children born in the U.S. each year to undocumented parents or those with temporary status to not receive automatic U.S. citizenship. If the justices rule in the administration's favor, it would mark one of the biggest victories yet for Trump's mass deportation agenda. And in migrant detention centers, activists warn America is repeating some of the darkest moments in its history in its treatment of immigrants. Right now, descendants of survivors of the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II are marching towards the Dilley Immigration Processing Center in Texas. They plan to hang protest signs and origami cranes ahead of a demonstration later today. The protests come just days after the Supreme Court handed Donald Trump a major immigration victory, allowing the Department of Homeland Security to end temporary protected status for migrants fleeing violence and natural disasters in Haiti and Syria. The ruling could affect roughly 1.3 million TPS holders in the U.S., which includes 350,000 Haitians, many of whom say returning home would put their lives in immediate danger.
Farah, if you could tell the people that are going to watch this, what is your biggest fear?
Death. If they send me back to Haiti, it's a death sentence.
I think that Haitians here do not have any problem going back home. The problem they have, they know that they will be exposed to kidnapping, to torture, and anything can happen to them.
Joining us now, MS Now and Noticias Telemundo contributor, journalist and author Paola Ramos. Paola, always great to see you. Thank you for coming back to The Weekend.
Of course.
I want you to listen to what Stephen Miller had to say on Thursday on the Supreme Court's TPS ruling. Listen to this.
America's doors are closed fully to asylum seekers. We've set up agreements where if you want asylum, then we will find a country elsewhere in the world to take you. It's very simple, very elegant, a very complete solution.
Does the administration consider Haiti a safe country now?
For Haitians, absolutely.
For Haitians?
Yes.
Do not travel warnings.
Yes, so yes, Haitians live in Haiti. It's not our position that Haitians should leave Haiti. I mean, it'd be crazy for us to say that Haitians couldn't live in Haiti. It's their country. Of course Haitians should live in Haiti.
Paola, especially that last comment, just to me, just screams like how unserious these people are in general, but how unserious they are about immigration and why people are leaving countries like Haiti. Mm-hmm. This isn't out of a trip that they just decided to extend. Their lives were at risk.
Of course, I mean, contrast what we just heard that Stephen Miller said with what Farah said, the TPS holder that you had on her screen. She said it very clearly. She said it's death. To return means death. And if you just look at what the United Nations has found in Haiti, and just in the last year, to return back to Haiti is a death sentence. The numbers show a very clear story. 1 in 10 people are homeless in Haiti right now. Just this year, just in 2026, over 2,000 people have been killed in Haiti. Over 100 people have been kidnapped, and they're facing over 1.5 million displaced people in Haiti. And so whether you're a TPS holder that is Haitian, Syrian, potentially the Venezuelans, Hondurans, Nicaraguans, what this administration is doing is essentially pushing hundreds and thousands of people that have been living legally, working legally, and contributing to the economy in this country, billions of dollars every year, by the way. And they're essentially pushing them into this horrible corner where they're literally facing these life and death situations.
Paula, one of the things that I think this week showed us and should remind everyone is that when people like us who are yelling all the time about the othering of people and why that matters, because this is what ends up happening, right? You had the president of the United States standing on a debate stage, lying and saying that Haitians in Ohio were eating dogs and cats. There was never any evidence of this. Even when J.D. Vance, who talked about it, when he said it, they asked him about it, and he said, but sometimes you need a good story, right? And now we see how that othering leads to policy and leads to changes and possibly danger for these folks. But there was also another case where the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 that the government can turn away asylum seekers before they enter the U.S. And it's not that long ago that in World War II, MS St. Louis has European Jews on there who were fleeing, trying to seek asylum in this country. They were turned away. Many of them died in the Holocaust. All of these things together say what to you as we enter the 250th year of this country?
That's that fear of cultural replacement, that is at the heart of MAGA. Now, that is exactly what gave rise to Trumpism in 2016 and rebirthed Trumpism in 2024. And that doesn't go away. No matter how fractured MAGA is, no matter how weak we think they are facing the midterm elections, what unites everyone is that precisely. I was actually able to talk to Tucker Carlson this week for my podcast. And he said the same thing that everyone is saying, that Megyn Kelly just said 24 hours ago. And I hate to say it out loud, but that is the powerful force that is able to mobilize people days and hours before an election. And he said it very clearly. He said immigrants make our cities dirtier. He said that immigrants are bad for the welfare of the American states, and that demographic change is bad for the United States. And that is exactly what Megyn Kelly said just 24 hours ago when she said these horrific words saying, go back to your effing country. And so we have to understand that this isn't politics for them. No, this isn't about winning at the Supreme Court or at the midterms. This is an ideological fight. No, this is their sort of modern day manifest destiny, where they are trying, and they will try with every fiber in their body to try and reverse and stop and pause what they believe is an existential fight for them, which is this country inevitably turning into a majority minority nation. And the second point that you just brought up, which is they've done something, and I don't think it's getting enough play. They have essentially, with the second Supreme Court ruling that has to do with the border, they have essentially dismantled human beings' legal right to seek asylum. That is a legal right that is enshrined in international law and in domestic American law. And I need for people to understand what that means on the ground. What that means, and I've spent so much time at the border, is that as we speak, there are thousands of asylum seekers living in limbo along some of the most dangerous Mexican border towns that are literally run by the cartels. And as they're waiting in limbo, now understanding that there's no legal way to enter in this country, what this physically means is that you have mothers and children that are literally being exposed to sexual violence and harassment. I've met them. You have families that are being kidnapped and ransomed by the cartels. And I will tell you also that when I have interviewed members of the cartels in Juarez or in Matamoros, they have told me that when Trump is in power, it is good for their business. Because what does that mean? That it means that they can kidnap and they can hold these families in ransom until something happens and something changes in the United States.
Congress does have the opportunity to respond and take things into their own hands here, but
They won't.
TBD on whether or not they will. Paola Ramos, thank you so
Or
much
Americans.
for coming on.
Yeah. Yes.
Who voted twice for this.